Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to a 90-minute session on the NACHA operating rules for 2017, and then briefly the major rule changes in 2016. A lot of things happened in 2016 that may have been one of those, oh yeah, I remember that, but what did I do to change my procedures, my policies, etc. So we'll go over those just to make sure that you are in compliance with the 2016 rule changes that already went into effect. And then, of course, we'll touch on what's happening in 2017. There's a couple of big things happening. The biggest impact is adding debits to the same-day ACH feature. And let's not forget third-party sender registration. So that's brand new, too, in the NACHA rule space. So my complete biography is on slide number 2, as you can see, but I want to draw your attention to the yellow box at the bottom of slide number 2. The material I'm providing you today is intended for educational purposes only. I am not providing any warranties or legal advice. In other words, I'm not an attorney. I don't even play one on TV. So NACHA, being the National ACH Association, owns the copyright for the NACHA operating rules and guidelines, which is where I retrieve the information I'm sharing with you today. I am an AAP, which means I'm an accredited ACH professional. I know everything about the ACH network inside and out, with emphasis on a few of the other payment systems, such as the check payment system, the card payment system, and the wire transfer payment system. So looking at the 2016 rules changes just briefly, POS entries, point-of-sale entries, and these are not your debit card transactions. We're talking about the debit cards that are out there everywhere, like the Target debit card, the Quick Trip debit card, the Shell gas station debit card. It's those debit cards that are unique to the company who distributes them and how disclosure requirements are changing. Same-day ACH, again, the first phase of a 3-phase process already went into effect just in September. It's about moving ACH transactions faster. Credits, again, started in September. Improving ACH network quality, the unauthorized entry fee, that went into effect October 3rd and actually affected transactions going all the way back to August, and that's where an ODFI will have to pay a fee to the RDFI for entries that are being returned as unauthorized. I'll go into more detail as I go through each one. Moving on to slide number 4, again, in 2017, phase 2 of the 3-phase process for same-day ACH goes into effect, and then, like I mentioned, third-party sender registration as well goes effective September 29th, 2017. And then we already know about one major rule change in 2018, and that would be phase 3 of the same-day ACH movement. So if we look at March 18th of 2016, so quite a while ago in 2016, if you haven't heard about this, it's a good thing to know. These are POS entries. These are ACH cards, otherwise known as, for those of you who've been around ACH for a long time, in the beginning they were called decoupled debit cards, then they were called debit cards, and then they were called ACH cards by definition in the NACHA operating rules. So this is a card that's issued by a specific merchant. So for example, Target has a debit card, Shell gas stations has a debit card, Quick Trip has a debit card. That's all I can think of right now. I think Macy's also has a debit card. And these are cards that are issued by this third party, by this merchant, who is then they're using a financial institution to create ACH transactions that are sent through the network to debit a checking account for that person who's holding that card. So back in the day, there were very few and far between ACH cards out there, but now they're everywhere. As I mentioned, just a few is your Target debit card, Quick Trip, Shell gas stations, and those are just the ones that come right to my memory because they're right here in Minnesota where I am, and I have one of each of those, so it's kind of cool. And when I got the card, it was never really explained to me what it is. But now with the overdraft situation that happens at financial institutions, there needs to be disclosures provided to me, the cardholder, explaining that this is not the same as my debit card. So my debit card issued by my financial institution, every time I use it, it affects my checking account balance. Those payments are guaranteed. Those payments, they go out, they check to see if there's money in my account when I'm using my bank ACH, my bank debit card. So my checking account debit card. Every time I use that, it checks to see, hey, do I have money in my account? Okay, cool, we'll pay this. Those come through as POS entries. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about POS entries that come through the ACH network, not the card network. I use my Target debit card at Target. I buy something. I get $40 cash back. That entry later is created by Target using their financial institution, sending it through the network as a POS entry, thus hitting my account later, just like a direct payment would through ACH. If the money's there, cool, it's covered. If not, it could be returned to NSF. It could be returned stop payment, could be returned, etc. Well, if I, an account holder at my financial institution, if I opt out, in other words, I opt out of paying a fee every time I use my card. If I don't have enough money, I want to be declined. So when I'm using my bank-issued debit card and I swipe it to buy something for $20 and I don't have $20, it's going to decline me. But when I use my Target debit card and I buy something at Target, even though that's tied to my checking account, it's not going to know whether I have enough money. So by the time that entry, that ACH entry, POS, standard entry class code, hits my account, it's going to be, oh, does she have money? Cool. If she doesn't, it gets returned to NSF. Donna could put a stop payment on it. Donna could return it as unauthorized. So it's a typical ACH entry. So because of this, there will be an overdraft fee if I don't have enough money to cover that. So even though I might have opted out of being charged a fee when my account goes negative when I use my debit card, this is not a debit card issued by my financial institution. It's issued by a third party. So what went into effect in March 18th of this year is a rule that says, okay, Target, Quick Trip, Shell gas stations, they need to provide me disclosures that says this is not a card that's issued by your financial institution and you may incur overdraft fees. Now the time frame to put this into play and make sure that every company out there that has that privately issued debit card tied to checking accounts, 12 months from the implementation date. So from March 18th, 2016, going all the way to March 18th of 2017 is how long these originators, these companies, your Target, your Quick Trip, your Shell gas stations, your Macy's, how long they have to actually make sure that these disclosures are being provided. And that sample of the disclosure language is on slide number 6. I'm not going to read it, but basically, if you're a financial institution on the call today or a company on the call today that may either issue debit cards for your company that's tied to a checking account, or if you're that financial institution who sends these transactions on behalf of a Quick Trip, you need to make sure that your company who issues these ACH cards, as they call them, is providing this type of disclosure to all of the cardholders themselves. And as I mentioned already on slide number 7, I talk about the ACH card. The term ACH card has been added to Article 8 to identify this decoupled debit card that it used to be called debit card issued by a third party tied to my checking account. It's now actually labeled an ACH card.